Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from the basement bunker beneath Kello Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage. The comment section is already crackling this morning with a reaction to the radio show this morning. And let's start with Steve Marino. He said, I have an answer to the hysteria in the U.S. today. This is what I was talking about. It's a lot of hysteria. Steve said, we've been conditioned to have an opinion on everything, and we have to defend that opinion to the death. He says, we're not allowed to reconsider our opinions anymore. We can't possibly be wrong. Once you've come to a conclusion, that's it. It's stupid, but that's how we are now. I think there's some truth to that in the way that we kind of react. And then Brian also is continuing conversation. We were talking about the Jeffrey Epstein files and where Trump is at. And he said, Make America Great Again should include the finding and conviction of any and all child abusers. I support Trump. This should be his stance on Epstein. I think you're off the beam by a mile, man. I think you got to rein your emotions in a little bit here, Brian. He said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. He's not doing nothing. Talking about releasing the files. He's the president of the United States. And yeah, we all want him to do things. The position that MAGA should take is on child abuse. It's really, I can agree with that in part because that's a moral conviction that a lot of us have. We don't want to see people being abused, especially the most vulnerable people among us, right? We don't want to see children being abused. Absolutely no. And we've already got laws against that. We've already got laws against that saying you can't engage in that kind of behavior. You can't do these things. I just think that's a lot to stack on the plate of the president of the United States. The position of MAGA, we got to find and convict every. It's like, I mean, again, I'm not in disagreement with that. But you're the president of the United States. You're the president of the United States. I think we've got good men and women who have been working in law enforcement and throughout the country, prosecuting crimes when they find them. Let's all simmer down over what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we've all got to take a breath and let's see this thing through. Trump is saying the files should be released. If there's credible information in the files, it should be released. That sounds reasonable to me. What's unreasonable about that? So, comments are just going crazy. Denise is in agreement with Steve. I've been known to talk around it until I make myself right. I will admit to being wrong and will admit when my view is incorrect. I don't always have to be right. Denise, I really admire that. And it's something I have to do too. If I'm wrong on something, I've got to be honest with you and say, you know what? I was wrong about this. Here's why. Here's what I said. Here's why. You have to. You absolutely have to. Or, as Denise says, you have no credibility. And so when we talk about these things, they're I think about them hard, and I take them to my heart. And my own moral positions are a big part of, where I come at on a lot of this. Whether it's the Epstein files or a number of other things. Yeah, right is right. I don't think anybody is above prosecution, nor should they be above prosecution, right? Um, but I think if you're being honest, you got to admit there's been just a lot of emotions are running high regarding this. And I'm having a hard time figuring out why. I mean, not rage at Jeffrey Epstein, that I understand. Why is that rage now being directed at Trump? That's what makes zero sense to me. The rage at Epstein, those were his actions. He deserves it. The rage at Trump, boy, you're going to have a tough sell. I mean, Trump is responsible for nobody's actions but his own. So, we'll see. But Denise, that was a great comment. I appreciate it. Robert was saying, I wish Pam Bondi was more like you, Denise. And Denise said, I think she should hand it all over to Dan and Cash and let them deal with it. Yeah, and all that's going on with that, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where that goes. And I'll continue to follow that story. But, again, I think some of that, Dan Bongino's a pretty passionate guy too. And I think there were some disagreements within DOJ. The story was beginning of the week was that he might be leaving DOJ as a result of all of this. So I don't know what's fueling all that, what's happening. That seems to have simmered down, and we'll see where we go next. Okay, couple of other stories that I wanted to share with you this morning in regard to, and let's increase the size of this here so you can read this just a little bit better. Department of Homeland Security says the mainstream lies and hysterical political rhetoric are directly contributing to a massive surge in attacks on federal immigration enforcement officers. The number of assaults against ICE agents has surged to 830%. 830%. You understand now why I'm trying to say folks need to be calm. You see what happens when you don't have that kind of, when you aren't able to take a breath and take a step back, and you got people now, they're upset, they're angry, and it's ICE agents, and the media is fueled, in my opinion, has fueled a lot of that. So Tricia McLaughlin said, brave ICE law enforcement risking their lives every day to keep our community safe from the worst of the worst criminals. ICE law enforcement are succeeding to remove terrorists, murderers, pedophiles, and the most depraved among us from America's communities, even as crazed rhetoric from gutter politicians are inspiring a massive increase in assaults against them. It's reprehensible that our officers are facing this threat while simply doing their jobs and enforcing the law. So again, an increase in attacks and assaults against ICE officials up 830%. That is just absolutely crazy. Also, I had this story in this stack of stuff this morning and never got to it. Now, this is outside of the political vein. So outside of politics this morning, this story, an American Airlines passenger who is, I'm going to run the story. It's fairly short. Let's run this.
Child, but next time it'll be the best thing to ask before taking a seat.
So there was a debate over his seat. Here it is.
So everybody keep asking me to tell them what happened with the plane incident and me having to go off.
He went off. Now, why did he go off on board the flight? Here's what happened. So he said he had someone took his $300 seat and gave it to their kid. So you pay $300 for a seat. I'd want my damn seat. I mean, that's me. I don't know that I'd get into it with people. So apparently he was captured on camera placing his backpack in the bin as he's demanding his seat back. That apparently is the video. Here it is. I don't care about your daughter, your child. He wants a seat. So he gets into it with him, apparently, okay, over the seat. And I kind of understand. And what he said, I don't care about your daughter, your child, none of that. I paid for this one. And you paid $300 for that seat. You want a specific seat. He wanted the aisle seat. And so he says, if you know me, then you know that wasn't me going off. That wasn't me cashing out at anything like that. He's not the bad guy. I think this is then the follow-up. Let's give you a little bit more as he explains why he went off.
So everybody keep asking me to tell them what happened with the plane incident and me having to go off. First of all, let me just say this. If you know me, then you know that that wasn't me going off. That wasn't me crashing out or anything like that. But I was really getting frustrated because everybody on the plane was really trying to paint me out as the bad guy because I wanted my seat.
Is he a bad guy for wanting his seat?
Taking my seat before I even got on the bus and plane, and already had somewhere for me to sit. That's not how it go. So I get on the
No, I kind of understand where he's coming from. It's his seat. That's the seat he paid for. Am I wrong here? I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm not saying I would go if I found a child sitting in my seat and the family was asking me to move to another, this seat. Okay, would you take this seat instead? No, he wanted this seat. Now I would have given up my seat. That's me. This guy, he didn't want to. So he's getting vilified apparently on social media. So this is what happens when you go out on social media and now again, he didn't post it, somebody else posted it. He said he would not have had a problem giving away his seat if they had talked to him first, but instead they left him scrambling to find an aisle seat. The flight attendant, he says, refused to let him take an aisle seat that he picked and said that if he wanted to be in one, he'd have to take his original seat. And she told him, you was being a problem. You was being the bad guy. So I turned around and said, ma'am, look, since you said all of that, just come get my seat because that was unnecessary and just like rude. I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost in this. So someone took his $300 seat, gave it to their kid, and didn't ask him. And he's upset about it. And so he's saying, moral of the story, just give people their seats back. It was a 6-minute response video. I think I shared the story faster. And flight attendants, just do your job, because if that was somebody in first class, y'all wouldn't even let them sit down. So, and then he's further griping, only one flight attendant came up to check on him after the incident. But you're finding somebody in your seat, and you paid for that particular seat. Man, I kind of get that. That kind of makes sense to me. Now, I'm not saying I would have a meltdown. I wouldn't. But, okay. That story just intrigued me this morning. The mayor of Los Angeles talking about the National Guard troops who now are being sent back home. The Marines, remember, the president had mobilized 4,000 California National Guard troops to deal with the violent response to the administration's immigration enforcement operations around Los Angeles. You remember that. We talked about it at the time. So now the troops are going home. And you've got the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, saying this happened because the people of Los Angeles stood united and stood strong. My message today to Angelenos is clear. I will never stop fighting for this city. We will not stop making our voices heard until this ends, not just here in LA, but throughout the country. So she is saying the Trump administration is retreating. It's the Trump administration retreating. The reason they're leaving is they're no longer needed. I mean, these are National Guardsmen. You're calling them up. They've got lives, ma'am. I don't know if you're aware of that. They got other lives that they would like to get back to. So somehow they won. How do you? And folks, here's one of the responses. Absolute horse crap. The retreat happened because the administration considered the current operation a success. They decided it was time to scale back. This had nothing to do with any sorry-ass Dems in California. No kidding. Absolutely no kidding. That is a little bit crazy. All right, my friend, you have made it to the end of the video, so you are part of my gallery of champions. Please hit that like button before you go. Fewer of you have been doing that, so I'm imploring you, please. So the only way I can get more viewers, more responders, is that more of you hit the like button. The comments are great. A lot of you are commenting, which I really deeply appreciate. But you're not hitting the like button. Just hit that like button before you leave. Very much appreciated. Special salute to the gallery of champions who are here each and every day. So back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm underground and gone.